What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over several tips for solo reload mode in Fortnite. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below what you think of solo reload with it being added in Chapter 2 Remix or the new Fortnite season. So ever since it got added or was like kind of leaked, a lot of people were wondering how is solo reload going to work. Doesn't make much sense. It seems counterintuitive to the game mode. But the way solo reload works is that you start out with two reboots, basically. So you have 3 lives. You have your initial start, and then you have 2 extra lives. And if you are eliminated 3 times in the game, you're out, you're done. And if you haven't been eliminated 3 times, you get to come back unless rebooting is disabled. So it makes sense. It's basically just BR with 3 lives. And it does play a bit different than the other reload game modes, though. One of the biggest things is the way the overshield works in-game based on how many reboots you have left. So you might think that if you make it to end game with all of your reboots, like you've never died, and they just go away once rebooting is disabled, which is true. The reboots do go away, but your reboots get transformed into 50 additional overshield, and it is a one-time overshield, and this is very huge. So if you play an entire match without dying in solo reload, and then make it to the point where rebooting is disabled, your overshield will be raised to 150. But like I said, this is a one-time overshield. It does not recharge back to 150. You just get 50 additional overshield for each live you have remaining. So if you haven't died yet, you get 100 bonus overshield on top of your 50. If you have 1 extra life left, you get 100 overshield at that point. And this is a big deal because obviously having 100 additional health going into a fight in-game is a huge advantage, right? But it's also something you need to consider from the flip side of things. If, you tag somebody for like 70, 80 damage, normally that might be something that you're down to push off of because that's a decent HP advantage. But if they still are basically full health despite that advantage, it doesn't really benefit you that much to push. So keep in mind that not only is this something that benefits you, but it benefits other players as well. And once you get to the stage where rebooting is disabled, unless you know for certain that person has lives missing, like maybe you've eliminated them throughout the course of the game, you might want to be a little more careful with who you push and how much damage you push off of, because you never know if they have that additional overshield. Another thing that's just true always for reload mode and always for any battle royale is that you need to be mindful of third parties. But I think it is even more extreme in solo reload. I feel like solo reload is the most third-party centric game mode ever in Fortnite. Like, it seems like there's always somebody ready to hop on you. So once you get an elimination, don't feel too safe. Don't feel too kind of preoccupied with their loot. You want to make sure that you are ready to deal with other players, and you want to make sure that you're ready to reload your weapons too. Like, if you just sprint onto the enemy's loot, you've used all your sprint, and your guns haven't been loaded since the fight, you haven't healed, that's rough. Like, after a fight, I feel like you need to prioritize healing and prioritize reloading your weapons more so than anything else. And if you do think you are getting pushed, using mobility to reposition kind of like prematurely can definitely stop people from like continuing to push you. Another thing that you might not want to get caught up in is spraying at people as they land. This is something that I'm definitely guilty of. I love shooting people out of the sky. It feels great. But the thing is, if you're so preoccupied on those people that you're making yourself exposed to other enemy players that are more of a threat, that's not going to be good for you. Like, that person landing back with a gray Ranger AR and no shield is not as big of a threat as somebody who might be nearby who, has loot and has shield and is ready to fight and all of that. So like, you can spray people out of the sky, it's fine, but this shouldn't be your priority, especially if you don't know what's kind of going on around you or where enemy players are. When you do get eliminated, I feel like regaining in solo reload is very hard, because a lot of times people just land back on the fight that they just had in hopes that they can get their old loot back, in hopes that they can, maybe if they had the enemy weak, clean that up. But I feel like you need to be very careful about going for this, because every life you have matters. When you're playing regular reload with teammates, you can kind of throw your lives away at times and it's no big deal. But in solo reload, you have a set amount of lives, and each life that you make it to end game with benefits you a lot in the form of that additional overshield. So I would be very cautious about landing back on your loot if you are being rebooted or if you are coming back. Landing on supply drops can be good, but it's also risky because other players are going for it. Landing on another fight is something that I like to do if the situation, calls for it. If there's 2 players fighting and you're able to be the person third partying that, not only can you get a free kill by cleaning up that fight maybe, but also that's a lot of loot for you, and that's a lot of loot in maybe a more safe location than, you know, being shambles all game. Also, using the vending machines is great for like getting big pots when you do come back. But that would be kind of my priority, is landing on a fight that's going on currently, because if you land back on your old fight, then that person has probably had time to heal before you get there and had time to reload their guns. But if there's actively a fight going on that you can third party, I feel like that's much better chances of you actually, you know, cleaning that up and getting the kill than just fighting the person who you already fought. Another thing that can really be helpful with regaining is trying to remember where you have gotten kills, especially on kills on people who are out of the game completely, because you do get a sound notification still when you've squad wiped or, you know, made someone use all their lives. And so if you eliminate somebody and you get that noise and that person's out of the game completely, their loot might just stay there. You know, someone maybe doesn't interact with it depending on where it is. So if you do know that like you eliminated people in the area, that can be also something that you can maybe land back on to get that loot for free. Another thing, this kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying about the shooting people out of the sky. You got to be willing to let people run sometimes. I know it's unfortunate. I hate letting people run away from me. Like, I'm so inclined to chase. But if you get so tunnel visioned on somebody that you have like a little weak, or maybe somebody who just came back off spawn, letting them run is oftentimes going to be the better play than using all your mobility to chase them, potentially chasing them into another fight, or just the entire time exposing yourself to potential third parties. Like I said, the third parties can get insane in this game mode. So getting too tunnel visioned on somebody that you are fighting that's trying to get away can be a really bad mistake. And that's always a mistake in Fortnite, but it's just more so, I feel like, in solo reload because of the pacing of the game mode and because of how third-party centric the game mode can be. As far as loot that I like to carry, it's pretty standard. I like to carry 2 guns, shotgun AR, double mobility, and then heals. But oftentimes, if I do make it to the end game, like the point where rebooting is disabled, I feel like bunkers do get more valuable in the end game. It's like a very drastic shift in the pacing of the game when you get to the point where reboots are disabled. So you need to adjust to that shift in pacing. A lot of people are going to play a lot slower. They're going to look for picks. They're going to play off bunkers more, going to look for snipes, all of that stuff. So you need to slow down a bit when rebooting is disabled if the rest of the lobby also slows down. If everybody's playing really passive and you're still playing really aggro, then you're making yourself an easy target, you know? So slow down with the pace of the game. And if I do have a loot near me when rebooting is disabled, or maybe a supply drop or something, and there is bunkers in there, I would like to maybe just throw it and use it and then play off that, or maybe carry it if the situation calls for that. Like, if I only have 1 shockwave left, I might take bunkers in the end game, because like I said, it does play out so much slower, and that shift in pacing can catch a lot of people off guard, I think. And this is true even in reload, or like team reload, but I feel like it's even more extreme in solo reload. Like, everything is just a bit more punishing. And then also, I think I kind of covered this with the overshield thing, but I don't know if I said this exactly. I try my best to keep my lives, that way at the end of the game I can have that bonus overshield. And also because I feel like regaining is much harder in solos, as I touched on. So while it is reload, I try to value my lives a lot and play it as if it was a regular BR. Not super slow or anything, but just like I play not to die. Whereas like in team game modes, like I said, you can throw your lives a bit away a bit, and it's no big deal, because if your teammates live, you'll be back. And if you have good teammates, they'll probably live. But in solos, you don't have this. Regaining is much harder. That bonus overshield at the end of the game is huge. So I try my best to just not get eliminated at any stage in the game. That way I can get that bonus overshield, and I can, you know, not have to worry about the difficulty of regaining. It's a very momentum-based game mode, it feels like, and when you have the momentum and when things are going well, it is so much easier to play. One final thing I want to talk about, and this is just true all of the time, is that I really prioritize eliminating players who I think are good. If I fight somebody and I think they're decent, if I see that skin later on in the game, if it is like a not super common skin, I'm going to be more concerned about eliminating them. And this might be a time where I'm more willing to chase. If I fight somebody and I think, wow, that player is really good, that was a good fight, I probably should have lost that. If later on I tag that person for 100 and they start running, I'm probably going to be more inclined to chase them. Or if I can shoot them out of the sky later on, I'm going to be more inclined to chase them, because getting the threats out of the lobby and draining their lives, that way they don't have a bonus overshield later on, I think definitely does make the game a lot easier. And if you do fight a good players and win that initial fight and kind of grief them for the rest of the game, I think it can also make the rest of the game much easier if you are able to like kind of capitalize on that and keep them down. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.